The Stranger Things podcast, episode number 8.
The Upside Down.
Mike.
Yeah?
Friends don't lie.
Well, I was thinking, I don't know, maybe we can go to the snowball together.
Snowball?
It's this cheesy school dance where you go in the gym and dance to music and stuff. I've never been, but I know you're not supposed to go with your sister.
No.
I mean, you can, but it'd be really weird. You go to school dances with someone that, someone that you like.
A friend?
Not a friend, someone like a...
Hello there, and welcome to the Stranger Things podcast, a fan podcast dedicated to the Netflix original series
Stranger Things.
I'm Daryl.
And I'm Addie.
How are you tonight?
Pretty neat.
Good. I am so excited to be...
I can tell.
I know. To be talking about this episode. Finally. There's a lot of reasons why I'm excited about today's episode. Of course, it's the finale. Of course, a lot of really great stuff happened, and I'm excited to be able to talk about it with you. But I'm also excited because for the first time all season, we're on equal footing, and that means you get to say anything you want to. Like, nothing is off the table for you.
I can't spoil you.
Yeah. And I'm excited about that for you. Like, you've got a lot of notes in here, and so you even had an idea for a segment you wanted to add to the podcast. So I'm just really excited about getting through this and talking with you about this episode.
Cool.
All right. So let's start our way through this. Now, if you are new to our podcast, welcome. Glad to have you joining us. There's 7 more, technically 8 more episodes prior to this. Go listen to the other stuff if you haven't already. And if you have, then you kind of know our format by now. We're going to spend the majority of our time talking about the episode in our episode discussion. But before that, we're going to have our episode recap. Thanks to the great folks over at the Fan Wiki site. I'll talk more about them in just a moment. And then, of course, after we get through discussing the episode, we're going to share some listener feedback in a segment we like to call Notes from the Upside Down. Addie's got her quote of the week. We're both going to do some predictions this time, which I'm really excited about. And we've got our Hawkins report, which is news and rumors. And we're going to close it all out with the meme of the week.
The meme of the week.
But before all of that, Addie, why don't you give us the lowdown on this episode? Who wrote it, directed it, and all that good stuff?
This episode is written by Paul Ditcher, teleplayed by the Duffer Brothers, and directed by the Duffer Brothers.
So do you know what that means when it says it's written by someone and then there's a teleplay by someone else?
No. It's like one of them the script and one of them is actually like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you're onto it there. So it says it was written by Paul Ditcher. So he would have written the script, and then the Duffer Brothers, they did the teleplay. So they would have taken that script and then adapted it for television. I only know a thimble's full in this, but there are specific things for television with camera placements, with the way the dialogue has to be spaced and formatting. It could have just been as simple as, not simple, but formatting the script so that it works for the TV production crew, or it could just be making some adjustments on it so that it makes more sense for television rather than just a broad script or that sort of thing. But that means Paul wrote the story and put together the script, and then the Duffer Brothers came in and, tweaked that, as it were, for television.
All right.
Yep. So, Addison, before we get into the recap, let me ask you a question. Who's Paul Ditcher and who are the Duffer Brothers?
Paul Ditcher is the writer of this episode of Stranger Things, and the Duffer Brothers are the people who did the teleplay and directed this episode of Stranger Things.
Duffer Brothers, they sound familiar. I wonder how they're connected to each other.
I think they're brothers.
Okay. All right, well, we did that again. I'm hoping we ditched that little bit for our season 2. It's getting a little old, I think.
Like you.
Set myself up for that one.
You really did.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move right into the episode recap. As I mentioned a moment ago, this comes to us from our friends over at the Stranger Things Wiki. We want to give credit where credit is due. You can find them over at strangerthings.wikia.com. And I'm a big fan of fan wikis for all the television shows that we've ever podcasted about. This one's no different. Lots of great stuff. If you've forgotten a character, you want to know the story about something, or find out what the music was in an episode, or all kinds of cultural connections and different things like that, go check it out. strangerthings.wikia.com. All right, and here we go with the recap. After getting caught sneaking into the Hawkins laboratory, Hopper and Joyce are being interrogated by Dr. Brenner and his men. Brenner reveals to Joyce that the scientists at the laboratory don't understand the monster's behavior, and he needs her help to stop it. Joyce refuses and tells him to go to hell. In another room, Hopper reveals everything he knows about Eleven and the laboratory's experiments. The agents threaten to inject him with drugs. However, Hopper makes a deal with Brenner so that he and Joyce can find Will. Nancy and Jonathan are off to find the monster and end it once and for all. The two are armed with weapons and set up a bear trap inside the Byers' home to catch it and kill it. Meanwhile, Joyce and Hopper set off to find Will inside the Upside Down, putting on special suits to protect their bodies from the toxic atmosphere. Inside the gate, Hopper recalls a memory of his late daughter Sarah having trouble controlling her breathing after Joyce experiences some shortness of breath. Joyce and Hopper reach the Upside Down's version of Castle Byers, where Will was hiding when Eleven contacted him. The shack has been destroyed and Will is nowhere to be seen. Hopper notices a small stuffed lion laying on the ground. The toy triggers another flashback where the late Sarah is holding a similar stuffed tiger as Hopper reads to her in a hospital bed as she slowly dies from cancer. Back at the Byers' house, Nancy and Jonathan attempt to lure the monster into the house with their blood. Steve then shows up in a panic to talk to Jonathan and make amends. He's surprised to see Nancy, who quickly tells him to go home. But after seeing Nancy's bandaged hand, Steve bursts into the house to see what's going on. Nancy pulls a gun on him and tells him to leave. He hesitates, and the monster breaks through the ceiling of the room that Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy are in. They lead the monster towards the traps, but the monster escapes. Nancy and Jonathan stress that Steve should leave now, as the monster will come back. Steve leaves the house and gets into his car. Suddenly, the lights flicker, signaling the monster's coming back. The monster pins down Jonathan, almost killing him, but Steve returns to the house and assaults the monster with Jonathan's baseball bat. The three lure the monster into the bear trap and light the monster on fire, but when the fire goes out, the monster is nowhere to be found. Mike is talking with Eleven at the school where they are hiding out. Mike tells Elle that everything will be okay, that his parents will take care of her, and that she'll be like family. Mike says that she won't be like a sister to him, as he asks Elle to the school dance and kisses her. Brenner's men find the boys and Eleven hiding in the school. The agents corner them in the hallway, but Elle uses her powers to make the agents bleed from their eyes until they fall to their death. This drains Elle so much that she won't wake up. The boys are helpless as Brenner approaches and they are captured. Attracted by the blood, the monster suddenly bursts out of the brick wall. Brenner's men attempt to subdue the monster but are unsuccessful. The monster attacks Brenner and seemingly kills him. Eleven and the boys are able to escape to a science classroom. Meanwhile, Joyce and Hopper have tracked the wounded monster to the public library in the Upside Down. There are bodies of humans who have been taken, along with the shelves of vines and tendrils surrounding them. Joyce and Hopper find Will with a tendril extending down his esophagus. Back at the school, the lights start flickering as Mike talks to Eleven. Mike promises to go to the school dance with Elle as the monster storms in the classroom. Lucas takes out his slingshot to stop the monster. Before the monster gets too close, Elle summons enough power to pin the monster against a wall. Elle looks back at Mike and says, "Goodbye, Mike," before using all her power to disintegrate the beast's body into a dark, thick mist, vanishing inside it. In the Upside Down, Hopper and Joyce perform CPR on Will. Hopper recalls a memory where he watched Sarah die in the hospital as doctors try to use CPR to revive her. Hopper is pounding on Will's chest to start his heart again until he gasps for breath. Joyce and Hopper breathe a sigh of relief. Will is recovering in the hospital where Joyce, Jonathan, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin all see him and fill him in on what happened while he was gone. As Hopper leaves the hospital, he's stopped by a car which signals him to get in. 1 month later, the 4 boys are playing Dungeons and Dragons in Mike's basement. Mike still has 11's basement fort set up and clearly misses his lost friend. Jonathan arrives and picks up Will from the Wheeler home. While Jonathan and Will are leaving, Nancy gives Jonathan a Christmas present and a kiss on the cheek. Will opens the present in the car, and it's revealed to be a camera. Nancy is then seen with Steve, and he asks if she gave Jonathan the present. Later, Hopper ventures out into the woods and places some Eggo waffles in a snow-covered box in the forest. Back in the Byers house, Joyce, Jonathan, and Will are enjoying their family dinner. Will excuses himself to go to the bathroom, where he coughs up a black slug into the sink, and he momentarily phases into the Upside Down. The lights flicker again, and Will is back in his world. He returns to dinner with his family. All right. Excellent stuff. Lots to cover in this episode. Let's talk about it. Okay. So the episode starts very, very similarly to the episode 1. I loved how this was kind of bookended in this way. And that is, it starts by looking up at the sky and then kind of slow panning down to the lab. Now, we saw a couple of other episodes that had the look at the stars and then slow panned down. But these two, the first and the last one, I wanted to point it out because they both started with the stars and then slow pan down to the lab. So again, nice little bookend to start and end the season. It
would have been cool if they wrote, like November 10th or whatever. No, I know it's past that. Probably. I think it was like a week later.
A week or 2 weeks. Yeah. I don't think it was more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, that would have been cool if they put the date and then like the location like they did in episode 1.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So when last we saw Hopper and Joyce, he broke into the lab and they got captured. Now I said then it seemed like that was his plan, but it didn't seem like a very good plan to me, but I think he must have done that on purpose because he's been really good so far. Turns out he did get captured on purpose. I still don't know that was a good plan. We'll definitely talk about that, but it worked, so I guess it was a good plan. But we learn a little bit of information here from, I think it's Brenner when he's talking to Joyce. 6 people have gone missing in the last week. So maybe it has been about a week since Will went missing. So by my count, that's Will, Barb, those 2 hunters that we heard about kind of mid-season, and 2 more. I'm not really...
I think one of them, he might be counting Shepard, the scientist.
Oh, that's a good point. He could be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know who the other one is.
Yeah, not that we have to. Just thought that was interesting. So something maybe to tuck away for season 2. Maybe it's not important. But anyway, we learned that there's 6 more. Brenner tries to tell Joyce that he needs her help. Kind of the same, not the same, but similar type of manipulation.
How he was talking to the Wheelers?
Yeah, he was talking to the Wheelers, just trying to gain their trust and just sleazeball. I love Joyce in this scene, though. She's seeing right through it. She calls him out on his crap,
She's like, no, I'm not going to help you. You, I know what you've done. I know who you are. You faked my son's death. We had a funeral for him. I'm not going to help you.
Yeah. I was so glad to see her do that. She calls him out on his hypocrisy. He's trying to act like he's a nice guy, not. And then the very next scene, Hopper is being interrogated by the blonde lady. I don't even know if we know her name. Certainly don't remember it. And some other lab rat. And he's the same way. He calls him out for, they're like, what do you know? He's like, I know everything. And you don't normally see this in TV shows. Like normally they try to play coy, like, I don't know anything. He's like, psh, I know everything. And just starts laying out all the stuff that he knows about them, just like Joyce was doing to Brenner. And so they decide they're going to kill him. They're going to make it look like he was a junkie and he overdosed, and they're probably going to, plant his body or ditch his body. So probably plant it somewhere. So then he does something that I completely did not expect. He tries to make a deal with them. He says, you guys give me Will and we'll forget it all happened. This never works. You hear this all the time on television, or, maybe someone's been kidnapped, and you say to him, if you let me go, I won't tell anybody. or whatever the situation is. You try to make a deal. I won't tell anybody. None of this ever happened.
And then they die.
Like in the Goonies, they said that. Let us go. We won't tell anybody. Yeah. Then they die, just as you said. So, needless to say, I was quite surprised when this deal seems to kind of work. Although, we learn as the lab rats are heading out that they kind of took the deal because they felt like Joyce and Hopper were not going to make it back from the upside down. They were basically giving them what they wanted.
They were trying to get rid of them.
They were getting rid of them. They were getting what they wanted too.
And they knew it wasn't safe in there because, one of their own scientists died.
Yeah, Shepard,
so I don't think they warned them because they probably didn't. It's like getting a job somewhere. You need to know the work conditions.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, they definitely didn't warn them. And sure, they thought they were sending them off to their death. It's a risky move, though. I mean, as the lady points out, it's a risk, but obviously didn't work out the way they expected it to. But I was surprised. I was really surprised that they agreed to do the deal. What I was more surprised about, though, was that Hopper gave up the location of Elle and the boys. He really is Lando after all. What the heck? Why would he do that?
I know. I think he should have told him, try, Joyce's house. They're probably there. Like, no, they should have told them a location that's like on the opposite side of town. So, and lead them on like a wild goose chase. That'd be really funny. But no, he didn't do that. Yeah.
Or say, hey, I've got them locked up for safety at the police station.
And then locked them up.
I don't know. I was shocked. I cannot figure out what he was thinking. I get his plan with Joyce to go into the Upside Down to rescue Will. That was the only door they knew of. And so, that's the reason I thought they went to the lab in the first place. So all that makes sense. But I can't figure out. So if you're listening to this and you can send me a reason why he would have done that, I'd love to hear it because I'm not coming up with any reasonable reason why he would have done that. Even if he did expect to come out with Will, like, did he just expect to come out and now he's alive and he's going to arrest them all, or, use Will to prove that they did what, like go back on his word? Like it was all, maybe so, but that seems like such a huge risk.
Or like what if they all, killed the kids and then Will comes back out alive and he finds all his friends dead? That would be really sad.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that obviously doesn't happen, but that would be really sad.
It very easily could have happened. I mean, not because of the scientists. Although the scientists weren't really going to be doing friendly things with the kids, but the kids almost died anyway. But yeah, I don't know. That was a head scratcher for me. Okay, let's talk about Jonathan and Nancy, because we had seen all these little pieces. Like we saw the bear trap and we saw the spikes and the gasoline and lighter fluid and all that stuff before. Now, so you kind of could get an idea of what they might do with it. Although I was quite surprised they decided to do it in the middle of the house. I thought they were going to take it out to the woods, like where the deer was, and set up the bear trap there. I'd never envisioned them going into the middle of the house, the hallway, and setting it up there.
That would make more sense. I mean, he destroyed his house even more than it already was.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But yeah, so we get the bear trap, the loaded gun, the spiked bat. Now, the spiked bat.
Now you get it.
So now we can talk about the Funko Pop that we, I saw Steve. He was beat up. Okay, we got the answer to that. But the other thing was he was carrying a bat. So yeah, as soon as I saw Jonathan hitting those nails into the tip of the bat, I'm like, oh, okay. Steve's going to show up any minute now. And so when the banging on the door started, I knew immediately before the door opened who it was. So I did get a little spoiled on that, but it wasn't a big spoiler. But yeah, I definitely got spoiled by the Funko Pop a little bit.
I mean, but did you know that it was going to be Jonathan who beat him up?
Oh no, I had no idea how Steve got beat up. Honestly, because he had the bat, I figured the spiked bat had something to do with the demogorgon. So for all I knew, Steve got beat up by the demogorgon, and the bat was his defense and how he survived. That was the best I was able to come up with.
That was awesome. Whenever whenever Steve shows up and Nancy's like, okay, you need to leave.
Yeah.
And she pulls a gun on him. And I'm like, you should have shot him.
Well, she's counting down like she's going to. There's no chance she's going to shoot him.
It would have been really funny if she did.
What? Man.
I don't like Steve.
I understand that, but I don't want to kill him. I just want to punch him in the throat.
Have you seen my prediction or what I want to happen in season 2?
No, I haven't looked at those yet. I'm kind of saving that.
Okay, we get to look at them later.
All right. Now, what was your reaction when Nancy and Jonathan slice open their hands? Does that make you cringe at all?
It did a little bit, but it's not as graphic as I thought it was going to be. Because I knew they were going to slice up their hand because obviously they had. But like, why their hand? Why somewhere that's like less painful? Like, their foot or no. I don't know. Just somewhere that's like more useful. Or why didn't they just like get a syringe and draw blood and then like drip it everywhere? Like that would have been like more practical instead of just like cutting their hand open and then like making them hurt.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, because you need your hand to be able to swing a bat, for example. That was also part of your plan. Yeah, it made me cringe. I mean, you don't see any blood, but you just see the knife move across the skin. I don't know. Just, eesh.
I want to know how they did the special effects for that.
For what?
Them cutting open their hand. Do you think they cut like a fake layer of skin that had like blood, like fake blood underneath it? So whenever they sliced it, you saw the blood?
Well, that's one way to do it. Or they could have just, used computers to make the blood.
Or they actually cut their hand open.
That's also another way to do it, yeah. I'm going to go with probably not that one.
Ooh, an even better idea would have been waiting for Steve to show up and then use his blood.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I could go with that, though, actually. Okay, so they cut themselves. Steve shows up, as you mentioned, and then the demogorgon shows up. And Steve is still trying to it's a really funny scene because Steve has no idea that the demogorgon is even a thing, and then it shows up. He doesn't know what the heck is happening. It's Nancy's unloading bullets into the thing.
And he's like freaking out like a little baby. It's hilarious.
Yeah. And they make it into the bedroom and the trap doesn't go off. Demogorgon disappears. Okay.
When I first watched this, I totally expected them to go out into the hallway and the demogorgon is going to pop out at them. That didn't happen. I was kind of not disappointed, but I thought it was kind of weird because that doesn't usually happen in TV shows, and especially one like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've done a couple of jump scares. We talked about it in the last episode. Not me on this case. I did think it was gone, but that's only because of the lights. The lights had gone down, so I figured that meant the demogorgon wised up, which meant that I was surprised that he came right back and then got into the trap. We'll talk about it here in just a little bit, but no, it was, he's gone.
I don't know. I thought he was in like a different room or something because I noticed the lights, but I thought he was in like a different room.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's talk about Hopper and Joyce a little bit. We'll make our way back to the Byers house in just a little bit. Okay, Hopper and Joyce are making their way through the forest in the Upside Down, and we see a big, giant egg. Right? Isn't that what that was?
I think so.
Now, I'm sure that when you saw that egg, let me ask it a different way. When you saw that egg, did it remind you of anything, or what did you think of?
I don't know.
Nothing in particular?
Maybe like a baby dragon or something. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's where the demogorgon came from.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I mean, but you see it in Eleven's, like flashbacks and stuff whenever she's in the isolation tank. So the egg would have had to have been there for like a really long time because, the demogorgon looks grown up unless it's just a really big baby.
Well, or it's a rapid ager.
Or that, yeah. But still.
Yeah, those are great points. There's no telling how long it's been there. My assumption also is that it's the Demogorgon hatch, where the Demogorgon hatched from, or that it's an offspring of the demogorgon, like there's something else out there besides the demogorgon. What it reminds me of is a movie called Alien. Have you ever seen that?
No.
So Alien is from 1979. It is such a good movie. It's a sci-fi horror movie. So it's taking place in space. It involves an alien, obviously. It's got some horror feels and themes to it. Not a lot of blood. I mean, there is some blood, but not a lot of it. But in that movie, although I'm trying to think of what we see actually in the first movie versus the rest of them when we see the egg pods and stuff like that. But yeah, those eggs, or the egg that we saw there, we see some other egg pods in the Alien franchise. And so definitely made me think of that. So I'll be returning to this egg in my predictions segment, but I've definitely thought it was a cool thing and something we need to think about, particularly if where there's one egg, there's usually more. Where did that egg come from? It didn't get there on its own. So even if it did hatch the demogorgon, what put it there? So
where's the mommy demogorgon?
Exactly. Where it leads to more of this. This didn't just come on its own. So it's definitely something worth remembering for season 2, I think. Okay, so we also see destroyed Castle Byers. No surprise there. That's how episode 7 ended. We see the stuffed lion there at the Castle Byers, and
I keep thinking it's a tiger.
Well, it might be a tiger, and the one we saw in flashback with Hopper that we're just about to talk about, that one was a tiger, wasn't it?
I think so.
It was, yeah. So maybe we should try to figure out where we should stop here, because the next thing I have in my notes about Hopper and Joyce actually involves Will, which I guess we're there. So, and this is obviously, we're talking about these pieces. These are pieced throughout the episode, but eventually they make their way to the library. And of course, Will has a tentacle down his throat. Now we'll talk about that when we talk about the very end of the episode. But let's talk about the flashback sequences. We got 4 or 5. Some of them are just a flash of a flashback. Some of them, several seconds or even few minutes long. What were your thoughts on the flashback sequences?
I don't know. I mean, whenever it's him with his daughter, I'm like, okay, why is she breathing like that? That's kind of weird. Mm-hmm. And then I'm guessing she has cancer or something. Mm-hmm. So and then you see Hopper crying, which Hopper seems like a really strong man, and he doesn't cry very much or something. But yeah, it's kind of weird, like, seeing him cry. I don't know. I feel like Sarah's not actually dead, but at the same time, like, you obviously like see her die. So I don't know. I don't really know how I felt during that.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing was super sad for me. I mean, as a parent, which obviously you're not yet, I mean, losing a child, I think, is the worst thing that anybody could ever go through. Losing a parent losing a child. When we first see her and she seems to have this breathing problem, I thought she had asthma. Because that's what you do when someone has asthma. You kind of talk them through it and control their breathing and stuff. And but no, it's pretty clear. Like you said, she's got cancer. And when we see her bald, there seems to be no question that she's got cancer. The next time we see, when they first encounter Will and he has the tube in his mouth, then we get that flash of her with the tube in her mouth. Not a good sign. I mean, her health is degrading. And then the final flashback is when they're doing CPR on Will, and he flashes back to that horrific scene of he and his wife, I don't recall her name, just standing there helplessly as the doctors are performing CPR and their daughter dies. I mean, brutal stuff. You mentioned the scene too of him crying in the stairwell. Man, that just, I think you and I both have a lot of respect for Hopper, and we like him. But this certainly helps put him in greater context. I mean, we got some clues to this even in episode 1, so it was nice. I'd almost forgotten about it, really, because we've been so focused on the demogorgon and the kids and all the stuff that's happening on screen that I'd almost forgotten about the clues to Hopper's backstory that we'd gotten early in the season.
Yeah, so right after the flashback with Hopper telling his daughter to just breathe, he asked Joyce if he's okay. I think that's really sweet. He's like, are you okay? Like, just the tone of voice he uses, you can tell he actually, like, cares.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Good. It was a nice touch. Yeah, he's a good dude. I think. I'm a little suspicious, but we'll get to that. All right, let's get back to the Byers house. Demogorgon's gone. Steve has decided he's going to get out of here. But then, like, immediately the Demogorgon shows back up. He sees the flashing lights. I was really surprised the Demogorgon showed back up so quickly. I mean, it was weird that it disappeared and then came right back.
I don't know. Maybe it maybe it needed to pee or something.
Maybe he said, before I eat, maybe I should go pee.
Maybe it went to go wash its hands or something.
Maybe. Okay. So it comes. Is this when it comes to the? No. The lights go out and boom, it's behind them.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
That was a jump scare. It takes Jonathan down to the ground, or Jonathan falls to the ground or something, and it's like over him and like drooling, and it like looks like
so
drools in his
gross.
mouth. Oh.
Cringe.
That's another alien thing too. There's a. In fact, I'm going to pull it up here because you might have seen this. There's a shot from the movie Alien. Okay, so here it is right here. Have you ever seen this before?
No.
So here we have Ripley. She's the main character, the hero, and here's the alien, drool just pouring out of its mouth, and it's off to the side. She's wincing, and there's spoiler alert, there's another little alien head that pops out of its mouth like a little Pez dispenser, and it has teeth too. But that's what it reminded me of. It's just sitting there over Jonathan drooling, and that drool is just pouring into Jonathan's mouth. That was disgusting.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay. Nancy, this is when I think she hit it probably twice before when it came through the ceiling. It seems like she got it a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Now she unloads the entire gun. I think the gun probably held 8 shots. So it's now been shot 8 times and doesn't seem to have any effect on it. Steve starts unloading with it with the bat. Steve comes in, and I love it because like he even takes a little moment and twirls the bat and hits it some more. And he's getting some really good shots.
He's just trying to show off.
Well, he's trying to be big bad, defend himself and his friends and all. I don't know. Yeah, probably show off too. It gets into the bear trap. Everything's going perfectly. And then they set it on fire.
Yeah, I mean, whenever they set it on fire, doesn't you can tell it stays there for a little bit longer, but I think it disappears like right after.
I couldn't tell when it disappeared. If it disappeared while the fire was still going, or if it disappeared when they put the fire out. Now you're making me wonder, because I was really upset that they put the fire out so quickly. I would have let that sucker burn until burn the house down. It's like when if you burn the house down when you find a hairy spider in your closet, you certainly burn the house down when you find a demogorgon in your hallway. Am I wrong?
We should have been Steve.
Wow. So I don't know. If you're saying the demogorgon disappeared, then maybe that's why they put the fire out. That makes more sense to me. Because I couldn't figure out why they put the fire out. They poured gasoline in the house. I mean, let's be real here. You're going to have to replace that carpet. I mean, and it would have, even that amount of fire would have burned the house down. There's no way they could have just put that out like that. But it's okay. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief.
I mean, the fire looks so fake anyway.
It did. Yeah. That's one of the few times in this show. They haven't gone heavy with the special effects. And when the Demogorgon's a mix of all like puppets and all the other things. So everything's looked pretty good. This was not. This was not their finer moment. You're right. So it's gone, as you said, but it is bleeding. They do confirm that you can see the blood of it kind of sizzling there on the bear trap. That's pretty cool.
It got wrecked.
So, just to keep track of the Demogorgon's wounds, 6 to 8 bullet wounds, incinerated, and some slashes in his gut and arms, probably from the bat.
And he's still living.
And bear trap wound.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what does a bear trap do? Is it just like, so you step in it and then it like clamps your foot or something?
Yeah, it's got these spikes on it, and it clamps down to your foot.
Fun.
Yeah, that's probably why he was bleeding. Although you would think the bullet wounds would cause, I mean, all of it. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of thought that the bear trap was what was causing them the most bleeding. I guess because I saw the blood on the bear trap, but it doesn't matter.
Like I said, it should have been Steve.
Yeah. And then he's gone.
So can he like teleport?
Yeah, I mean, he has the ability to go between worlds, kind of create a gate wherever he's at.
Well, I don't know if he's like teleporting, like, I don't know if he can teleport like within the same world or if he can just create a gate wherever he's at.
Yeah.
And he's just switching to the upside down.
It's hard to tell whether he's just like phasing in between worlds or he is ripping and creating a gate. I don't know. It's weird.
Okay, so back in episode 4, Joyce and Jonathan go down to the morgue, and Joyce asks to see if there's a birthmark on his right arm, and you don't know if he actually has one or not. But whenever they are fighting after that, like on the sidewalk, you said that why didn't she just say like her point, like if there was a birthmark, like what was different about him, like how she knew it wasn't him.
Right.
But here it's like the same thing. Like Jonathan says Mom, and then Joyce replies Jonathan in kind of like a whispery voice, and like why didn't they respond? Like you can tell she's still there, like she knows he's there. Mm-hmm. And he obviously knows that she's there because of the lights, like, but why didn't they respond?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. I am glad they did that with the lights, though. It kind of gave us the solid blinking lights. Because remember, I talked about how I thought the solid lights were luring Holly back to the bedroom. Mm-hmm. And that might have been Will doing that. Not that he was luring her, but it was those small solid lights. That's what we saw when Hopper and Joyce were walking. It's like the lights, that light trail was following their path, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to the flickering lights when the demogorgon is coming.
Yeah, and in like episode 3, after she puts up all the Christmas lights, you can see a little trail of lights leading to the cabinet where the big ball of lights is. Mm-hmm. But my question is, okay, so it was following them where they're going. So whenever you see the lights leading to the cabinet in episode 3, if it was Will, that would have meant that he started, by the kitchen or wherever it was, and then he walked towards the cabinet, and then he teleported back to the kitchen and kept walking towards the cabinet until she followed. Like, that doesn't make any sense, or you would have seen him walk back.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You have a good memory.
Thanks.
Or you've seen it 20 times.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the other kids. They're back at the school. And, there's some good conversation going on here. We haven't really talked about some of the things that led up to this point where Dustin and Lucas have gone off to find the pudding, which leaves Mike and Elle alone. You have anything you want to say about this scene? Miss Grinny Face over there.
I love this part. In case you guys haven't guessed, I'm
surprised this is, I guess it is your third favorite. Yeah.
This is one of my other favorite scenes. Yeah. I love it. It's just, he's like, well, not really friends, and then he just kisses her, and then like the look on her face, she's just like, oh, that happened, and then she smiles, and then he smiles, and it's just so cute.
Yeah, it is. Now, last episode, when they didn't kiss, I was like, yeah, I'm glad they didn't. I know.
Did you see the look on my face then? Did it give it away?
No.
Okay, good, because I was like, okay, well, you're in for a treat next episode.
And I have to say, with the way things ended here, I'm really glad they did. I'm glad that Mike did that, and it just it really helps. I mean, not that there was any doubt about him thinking she was cute and all this stuff. That was pretty obvious from day one. But anyway, I liked it. It turned out to be really well done. So good on you, Duffer Brothers.
It was adorable.
Yeah. A lot of really cool conversation. Mike is such a cool dude. He's like, my mom will adopt you and Nancy will be your sister and you can have all the real food. No more eating scraps in the basement. And she's like, and Eggos, yeah, you can have Eggos, but I'm talking about real food and we can go to the snowball together. And
I know.
He's just really helping her, wants her to know that you're going to be taken care of. You're going to have a family. Now, none of that might have happened. That's way beyond. It's like when you make plans with your friends.
I know. I was thinking that.
And then it's like, oh, thanks for bringing the parents in on this, grand idea you had. So who's to say if any of that would have actually happened? But it just shows his heart of wanting to make sure that she's taken care of and she has a family and she has real food. Those food and shelter and family, those are really important things. And so, yeah, Mike is just an awesome dude.
They never got to go to the snowball.
I've heard you say that phrase in that tone about 10 times today. Yeah. Guess they didn't have a ball. So,
well, that's supposed to be funny.
Shut it. So while Mike and Elle are kissing, Lucas and Dustin are getting the pudding, the lab rats finally show up. And man, this is intense.
Because, okay, my first thought was, oh, they're going to get Mike since he's outside. Like, I don't understand, like, the point of view. Because whenever, I mean, I think you can see the lights and stuff from, whenever it's looking at Mike. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure if you can, whenever it zooms out to looking at the cars driving up, I was looking for Mike standing outside somewhere, but I didn't see him. I was like, okay, where is this? I mean, I know it's at the school, but I don't know. I was like, is it like a different side of the school or where is Mike?
Yeah, I'm a little confused too, because when you get to that view, it looks like the gym is across the street from the school, but then later on, the kids seem to go through the hallways into the classroom, like they do connect somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's not a big deal, but it is. I'm not sure of the layout either. But yeah, I thought they were going to see him when he's sitting out there. Good thing they didn't, so he could go back and warn the others. But it didn't take him long. I mean, there's a lot of guys, a lot of scientists and stuff like that, military guys. So it doesn't take him long to get them trapped on both sides. And man, we've seen Elle do some really cool stuff. I mean, the van flip was pretty freaking amazing. This might be the new coolest thing that she's done up to this point. Obviously, she's got one more thing that's going to top everything. But this is pretty awesome. She stops the people behind her, so she's not even looking at those guys. She stops the blonde lady and all those guys that she's with. They're bleeding out of their eyes.
I know, that was so creepy. I love it.
Did it occur to you at any point that, oh no, there's a lot of people bleeding a lot right now, they're going to attract the demogorgon?
When Mike said something, yeah.
Yeah, it's same here. I was like, oh, yeah.
That's not good.
That's not good. Yeah, I didn't think twice either on it. Yeah. Such a cool scene though to see Elle saving them. Now she drops down. We've never really seen her try to control that many people at one time. So
and she was already pretty drained, which is why they were getting the chocolate pudding.
That's right. That's a great point.
Or maybe that was just an excuse so they could eat it.
Well, Dustin was certainly looking for any excuse to find that chocolate pudding. But yeah, you're right. She was already drained from being in the isolation tank. So now she's extremely drained and looks like she almost dies at this point. She's maybe not dies, but at least
she's really weak.
She's really weak, almost, or does lose consciousness practically. And then Papa shows up.
Ugh. Yeah? I don't like him.
Do you think he was being nice here, or was he being manipulative?
Both.
Yeah.
Because he tells her that she's sick, which she's not sick, but I don't know. I think he's being just weird and creepy. Yeah. She's 12. Like, you need to like let go of her. And then even like Mike is like let go of her. And 11, she's just like bad. And I'm like, wow, you go 11. Yeah, tell him. Yeah. and then she calls out to Mike, and then the demogorgon shows up there.
Yeah, demogorgon beating his way through the wall, smells the blood. Mike recognizes immediately blood. That's when I picked up on it.
He's a clever one, yeah.
He really is. Very smart. And so I guess Brenner puts Elle down at that point. We don't really see that as far as I can recall. But the demogorgon comes through. The guys are just unloading their machine guns into the demogorgon. I don't know if the bullets are bouncing off of him or if they're going through him with no effect.
Or he's just like absorbing them.
Yeah, I don't know. But that monster would have taken hundreds of rounds of bullets at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not impacting him or affecting him at all. It'd be like us getting hit with airsoft guns, except even that many airsoft hits would be like, it's having no effect.
You sound like a dying sheep.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then it jumps on Brenner.
Lol.
Rip Brenner. So, yeah, that was kind of nice.
It was funny when the Hillary Clinton lady died.
She does look like she could play Hillary Clinton on SNL or something, doesn't she?
Yeah, I also said she died, so.
Okay, so the boys take off running. They're hiding in the science room of the school. I don't know if that's Mr. Clark's room or not, but it's a science room. But if you look around, what's going on in there? And you hear all the other gunfire going off. So again, the monster's got to be getting hit by that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then they put 11 on the table.
Right.
And he's talking to her like, okay, she's like dying. So what earlier he mentions you can have like real food, and she just clearly just wants Eggos.
Right.
And he says you can have as many Eggos as you want. I think that's really sweet because like he knows she only cares about Eggos. Like not even Mike, just
Yeah,
just Eggos.
That's her food of choice.
Yeah. Kind of like me.
You do love your Eggos. That's true.
Eggos and corn dog sauce.
Yeah. So then the gunfire stops.
And then boom.
That can mean only one of two things. The monster is dead, or the people with guns are dead. And it doesn't take long to figure out which one it is.
Yeah.
You're right. Monster breaks through. Did you notice what was on the bulletin board? Don't look at my notes. Did you notice what was on the bulletin board when the demogorgon burst through the door?
No, but I noticed there was a periodic table, and it said something about, I don't know, but I remember like the letter was like sideways. The letter U was sideways.
That's correct. Yeah, the letter U was sideways. There's also off to the side a Rube Goldberg machine, which I thought was pretty neat.
What?
A Rube Goldberg machine?
A what?
A Rube Goldberg machine can be anything where you set one thing in motion and it perpetuates other things, and it might go through loops and tunnels, and you might see dominoes go off, and then it bumps a little car that scoots down and knocks a ball over, and it rolls and hits something else. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Yeah, those are cool.
They're very cool. In a very, very small way, that's what Jonathan and Nancy were doing with the yo-yo. Although it was really more of just the bear trap would move the yo-yo and let them know that it had triggered, instead of then the yo-yo knocking something else over, doing something. So not exactly Rube Goldberg, but I don't know. Maybe that's a clue for something we'll see in season 2. Maybe it's just something that fits in a science room. But what the bulletin board said was outer space traveler.
Okay. Wait, was that the thing that had the letter U sideways?
Yeah, the U in outer was sideways.
Yeah, I noticed.
Not upside down, sideways.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know what that means, if anything, but I am going to talk about that again when we get to our predictions segment. But the demogorgon comes in, traps the boys in the classroom, and, it's wrist rocket time. Lucas gets out the wrist rocket.
Okay, I have something to say here.
Okay, please.
So he's being shot with like 100 bullets. And it doesn't affect him. And then one little tiny rock, which is the one. It's slow motion and everything. It's the one.
Yeah.
And then he gets hit with one tiny little rock, and then boom. But I mean, in his defense, it was when his face was open. So. Well,
but Elle stepped in at that point.
Well, no. It was whenever he hit he got hit with the rock, that's when he like slammed into the bulletin board at the back.
Yeah, but that's because Elle did that.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Totally did.
No, it was when he hit with the rock.
It was a timing coincidence.
No.
Because here's what I have in my notes. I'm completely with you, Addie, where he pulls out the wrist rocket and you're like, come on, guys. This thing has just been hit by 5,000 bullets. There's no way this wrist rocket rock is going to have any impact on it. And then it goes slow-mo and I'm like, oh my gosh, because you're right, its mouth is open. And so I'm thinking this is going to be like a David versus Goliath thing where the rock is going to hit the demogorgon in just the right spot to take it out. But no, just when you think the rock has done it, it turns out Elle steps out and she has done it and she's got the monster pinned against the chalkboard. That's what I think happened.
Hold on. I don't think it was her.
I'm surprised.
Shh. I'm rewatching it. Yeah, it wasn't her because she didn't have her hand up. She wasn't like whenever she slams Mike back, she uses her hand like and gestures him to like fall back. But you would have seen her, like push him forward like with her hand whenever she's walking out. So you didn't see that. I think it was the rock. It was the rock.
I don't know if I can smell what the rock was cooking.
Rocks don't cook.
Oh, my mistake. I don't know. I think that it was Elle. So I would love to hear listener feedback on this. This is great that we have finally we can talk openly now and we are having a disagreement here. This is good stuff. So I'm going to say rock had nothing to do with it. You're saying that Elle had nothing. Now, obviously, once the monster was driven back, I think we agree at that point because Elle stands up, walks towards him. She kept him pinned, and she destroyed him after that, right?
Goodbye, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. But yours, where we disagree at is what was it that thrusted the demogorgon against the side, not the sidewalk, the chalkboard? Is that right? Is that where we disagree?
Yeah, it was the rock.
It was Elle. Okay. So she then walks up to the monster, pins him there with her mind, looks back, as you just said, bye, Mike.
No, it's goodbye, Mike. You missed the good part.
No. Goodbye, Mike. And destroys the demogorgon and sacrifices herself in the process. This is powerful stuff. It's emotional. It's amazing.
And you see Mike crying.
Yeah.
And I mean, with all their ears are covered because it's obviously really loud.
And then she does that scream thing too.
The demogorgon was already screaming, right. And then she obviously has a really powerful scream because in a couple episodes ago, whenever she's out in the woods by herself,
right,
she looks in the water, and then she makes the birds fly, and then in the next scene,
Will goes flying.
No. Well, he has to eat her pancake.
Sorry, I thought you meant the next scene with Elle. That was awesome.
But did you called him Will?
Jeez, what's wrong with me? I was talking about the next scene with Mike. So it was impressive. I mean, how strong is Elle? We've already seen. That's why I've been careful to kind of note all the damage the demogorgon has taken up to this point, and by all accounts it had no effect. So it's not like she got her hands on a weakened, struggling to find strength demogorgon. No, she found a demogorgon. She found herself head to head with a demogorgon that seems to have not been affected by anything, including Lucas's rock, and she took it out anyway and destroyed it. That's how powerful she is. It's amazing.
Lucas's rock did half the work.
Why are you wanting to deprive Elle of the full credit of what was done?
Because it was the rock.
I just don't smell what the rock is cooking.
The rock doesn't cook. It's a rock.
Okay. Don't raise your eyebrow at me. So, that's it. Now we kind of see ourselves at the hospital. The boys come in and kind of bring Will up to speed.
I love how... So immediately after, like, you see Will in the hospital, Jonathan's just like, here's my mixtape.
Yeah. Okay. The only note I have here at the hospital is when Hopper gets ready to leave, he gets in the car with the two suits. I assume
Maybe
those are
he's being-
suits from the lab, right?
Maybe he's being arrested for trespassing.
I don't know. Something happened. We're going to learn more about it in season 2, hopefully. We could speculate wildly here. Did Hopper make a deal with them? Did Hopper, was it to reinforce the deal of he knows nothing, hand wavy, you saw nothing, you know nothing? Yes, that's right. I agree. Please let me live. I don't know, but something happened. Some sort of conversations were made, and I hope we get to find out what they are. I've got a tiny piece of speculation I'll throw out here in just a minute.
So, Will and Mike are a lot alike. So whenever Will wakes up and stuff, he asks Jonathan what happened to his hand, and he's like concerned and stuff, even though he just went through all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the same thing with Mike. Even after he starts coughing and stuff, he's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And he's always helping out Elle. Like, "Are you okay?" Like,
yeah,
I love you. Yeah, like they're the nice ones.
Yeah, good observation.
And then Lucas is over here like, she's a liar, she's a traitor.
Well, he's on her team or her side now.
Well, yeah, now he is, but
yeah, you need the skeptical ones. The skeptical ones keep you alive.
The skeptical.
Yeah, shutty. All right, now we get kind of the epilogue of the episode. A month later, and the boys are playing Dungeons and Dragons again, and now we get the...
They should have learned their lesson last time.
I know. Right? Well, they did. Jonathan shows up to take Will home. No more riding the bike home at night. But this time they face the Thessal Hydra, but they kill it. Now, Colby and I, your brother, for those who don't know, Colby's Addie's brother, my son.
Dobie.
We were, this morning in here, going through Dungeons and Dragons, these two characters. We wanted to see how close the Demogorgon was to the creature we saw on the show.
It doesn't really look anything like it.
No, not really. It's got 2 heads. It's got this tail. Its hands are tentacles and not hands and stuff like that. And so I was curious to see how close the Thessal Hydra is to whatever we see in the red clouds in the season 2 trailer. And
it looks
nothing like it again. I mean,
I thought it looks close because it looks kind of like a snake thing.
Well, for what Colby and I thought it looked more like was a spider, where it's got all these legs and then maybe even legs coming off of legs instead of multiple heads, unless it's bent down and the heads are kind of down below, which you can see. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was close to any of the Thessal Hydra pictures that I could find. So I'm curious. I mean, it doesn't have to match the Demogorgon, but I would guess that they're going to call it the Thessal Hydra no matter what it actually looks like. But who knows? They killed the Thessal Hydra here, so maybe that's not going to be the name of the monster in season 2.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll
I
find
can't
out.
comment on that. I haven't seen it.
What I can comment on is the game ends and the boys are all upset.
They're like, it was way too short. It was 10 hours.
Right. I wish they would have said it was 8 hours, because I feel like all this dialogue right here was the voice of the audience. The season is now over. And this is what, if you're watching it like you did, this is before we know if there's going to be a season 2. And so you're like, it can't be over with. And the Duffer Brothers are going, but it was 10 hours or 8 hours, But you have all this and this and this. And the kids are pointing out all the little loose ends of the campaign that didn't get resolved. And we can look at the show and go, but da-da-da-da-da-da. We can point out to all these loose ends that are still resolved. And I just thought this was them putting themselves in the audience's position, yearning for more. And fortunately, we're going to get that. So, but anyway, that's the way I took this little piece of dialogue, and I loved it. What did you think when Mike looks over at the blanket fort?
I was so sad.
Yeah, it was sad. Yep.
He misses. Oh wait, I thought Lucas actually said something funny for once. So whenever Jonathan comes down to get Will. He was like, have you guys been playing the game or just farting? And then Lucas is just like, oh, that was Dustin. And then he goes on this little song, Dustin farted. And I think that's hilarious. And then the look on Dustin's face, he's just like, really, bro?
Yeah, it's pretty. I wonder if Lucas, what's the actor's name that plays Lucas?
Caleb.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I struggle with his name the most. I wonder if he made that up. That'd be awesome if he did.
That'd be really awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, because he made up the bandana thing. So
that's right. He sure did. Yeah. So the next thing we see in the epilogue is Nancy gives Jonathan a present. Looks like it might have come from Steve just as much as maybe Nancy and Steve put their money together. Who knows?
I doubt it.
I don't know, because Steve was definitely aware.
Then why didn't
Steve better have pitched in for it was a camera.
Well, obviously it was a camera, but then why did Nancy give it to him? Why didn't Steve give it to him?
I don't know. It should have come from Steve. He's the jerk face that broke it. But it was nice. Either way, it was nice that he got his camera replaced. So now he can go stalk some other people in season 2.
Great.
Yep.
I want to find out what happened to Tommy and Carl, because we don't see them again.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
No, I just want to know what happened to them, because I mean,
maybe those are the other 2 people that are missing. That would be great.
Should have been Steve.
Well, Steve and Nancy are back together at the end. How'd you feel about that? No, you're making angry eyebrows right now.
Very angry.
Yeah.
I don't like Steve. He should have died. And no, Nancy, you're so stupid. No. I mean, she obviously likes Jonathan at least a little bit. I mean, she kisses him on the cheek, but
yeah, I don't know. I think this is something they went back and forth on. I think I saw an article on that. I was trying to not read it at the time though, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think I saw something about them not wanting to choose Jonathan at first. I mean, Steve, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, Steve. I hate Steve.
Well, it's just the end of season 1, we'll see what happens in season 2. I don't know that I wanted her to be with Jonathan either, but I certainly didn't want her to go back to Steve, at least not right away. Steve needs to earn it. We didn't see him earn it, really.
He should have been the demogorgon.
Okay. Hopper at the Christmas party. Put some food in a Tupperware container.
And then he says, I was only here for the food. And I was like, literally me.
Yeah, well, that's true. Goes out to the woods. And as soon as he pulled over, I knew, to me, it looked exactly where Will encountered the demogorgon. Out there on, what's the name of the street? Mirkwood, yeah. At least that's what it looked like to me. What I was shocked about, I mean, I was sitting in here, mouth agape, when he goes and he puts this food in the box. At first I was like, well, that's interesting. I wonder if he's leaving that for 11. And then he pulls out the Eggos and I was like, okay, so this goes back to him getting in the car with the suits. Does he know that 11 is still alive, or is he hopeful that 11 is still alive?
I don't know.
I know you don't know. What do you think?
I mean, he wasn't there when it happened, but it has been, a month later, so, word could have spread.
Yeah, I'm sure he got the details on what happened. I'm of the opinion that the suits told him, or at some point he found out that 11 is still alive, but he's not supposed to say anything to the boys. Maybe he sees 11 as his own, not his own daughter, but he lost a daughter, right? So maybe that he's feeling like he can step in and I don't know. I mean,
Terry?
Huh?
Maybe he feels like he could help Terry by getting her back.
Maybe. This is a really, obviously it's a huge scene with lots of mystery and tons of speculation we can throw at it, but I don't know. If at the very least, I think it tells us, the audience, that she's still alive. They don't introduce Eggos back into the storyline at this point if she's not out there. Whether or not he knows, or whether or not he hopes, is irrelevant to this point, and that is that 11's still alive. I mean, there's no other reason to put Eggos on the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless they were for me.
Probably not.
Oh wait, I wasn't even born then.
No, you weren't. You know how old I was in 1983? 7. That's right. I was 7 years old. And it was about this same year that Dad brought home an Atari.
I had to Google what an Atari was. I had no idea.
Oh, you've played a bunch of Atari games. You just didn't know what they were, I guess. Like,
really?
Yeah, Pac-Man, Centipede, Space Invaders, Galaga. Those would have come on different versions of the Atari. The Atari 2600 was very basic. Came out in 1977.
Your mom was made.
That's right. The year Mom was made. We finally got one in probably 83. Maybe 82. But I can remember distinctly Dad brought it home and it was the coolest thing ever. He hooked it up to the TV and we had to wait our turn in line while Dad got to play Asteroids. Dad was a huge Asteroids fan. And he would play Asteroids. We also had Combat. It was like a little tank battle game. And yeah, so now this was at the end of its lifespan in 1983. In fact, in 84, I think it went out of production. So think about it today. It went in production in 1977 and went out of production in 1984. That's a pretty long time span for a video game system. So normally they're like 4 to 5 years. And then in 1985 is when the Nintendo came out, the first Nintendo. So
The Switch?
No, it was just called the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. So if we get to season 3, which I'm sure we will, I'm really hoping they start bringing the Nintendo into, the pop culture stuff at that point. Now there was an Atari 5200 that would have just come out about this time, but it was kind of a flop. So I would lean it's more likely that Will is getting, even though it's near the end of its life cycle, an Atari 2600 than he is 5200. And part of that is because if this was, say, the Wazowskis, they've got money, right? So they could afford the newest. When the Atari came out, it was an equivalent of like $800 in 1977 dollars. But by the time you get to 1983, it's down to what would the equivalent would be, and if we were buying it today, would be about $100. And then by 1984, it's down to like $50. So it's really come down in price because it's old, it's getting cheaper to make it and that sort of thing. So you get families like mine, that's why we couldn't get one until 1983, because we didn't have a lot of money. We were poor, and they're obviously poor. So I would guess that he was getting the Atari 2600 instead of the 52.
I mean, he also said that Dustin had one too.
Yeah, and we don't know what Dustin's economical status is, but it's clear that the Wheelers have a lot more money than the Byers do.
Yeah, I mean, Nancy even says that to Jonathan, right, that her mom married rich.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Last scene, last little piece. The Byers getting ready to have dinner. That's when they have the Atari discussion. Will excuses himself to go to the bathroom.
To go wash his hands.
And instead coughs up a slug.
And he gets a flash of the upside down. I don't know if it was like no, it wasn't a flashback because you can see him.
No, it was like around. He could see that same space in the upside down.
Well, I mean, obviously it would have affected him like a lot, but.
Yeah. Well, we speculated that when Will came back, he wouldn't be the same. There would be some side effects. So
earlier, whenever I said the Demogorgon needed to go pee, and then after I said or wash his hands, that's what I was referring to.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Nice job.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I know we're going to talk more about some of this when we get to our predictions segment, but anything else you want to talk about before we move on to our notes from the Upside Down?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's do that. Let's move into the notes from the Upside Down, otherwise known as listener feedback. Well, Addie, we've got 2 feedbacks for the listener feedback segment today. First one is from a first-time contributor, but no stranger to Golden Spiral Media podcasts. This is my dear friend, Justina.
Hi, Daryl and Addie. I just wanted to call in and say thank you so much for this wonderful podcast. It is bringing back so many memories of watching Stranger Things. I had hoped to do a rewatch with you guys, but the timing didn't work out. But I am definitely enjoying reliving each episode as I listen to the podcast. In the most recent episode that I listened to, Holly Jolly, I'm reminded by the quote of the week on how captivating Winona Ryder's performance is in this show. I love the blog posts and the meme of the week, although I also do enjoy the meme of the week because it sounds very fancy and refined. I feel like we should have high tea and look at the meme. Perhaps instead of cakes, we should have Eggos. This is Stranger Things after all. My favorite thing about Stranger Things, how all the friends never give up on each other, are always sticking up for each other, working together and trying to keep themselves and each other out of trouble. I feel like this will definitely continue in season 2. Counting down the days till Halloween and the next season of Stranger Things. Talk to you then. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Justina. And she complimented the blog posts, which are 100% Addie. Way to go, Addie.
Thanks.
Yep. And, she gave approval for my May of the Week, too. So that might be the best feedback we've ever had.
She was lying to you.
All right. Well, let's see what we have for our second feedbacker this week. It is Karen.
Hi, Daryl and Addie.
Ooh, that's loud.
Hi, Daryl and Addie. I'm here with my episode 8 feedback for you, since you asked me to kind of tie up the Dark Phoenix thing for you. There's not a lot now, but I didn't want to spoil the monster thing, which is, the big deal of the episode. First of all, there was a scene that Elle looked at a statue that she was kind of fascinated with, and it looked like an angel, but it also kind of looks like a phoenix. And there's also an allusion to the fact that her name is Jane, and it's very close to, of course, the name of the phoenix, which is Jean Grey. Okay, and then the Dark Phoenix is accidentally unleashed by the mastermind, who is, doing the tinkering in Jean's brain. And it's kind of a parallel to Brenner pushing 11 to kind of, poke at the monster, and tears that dimensional wall by accident. And we kind of get the illusion that that's what's happening in the show. And it kind of lets the monster into like our quote unquote world. Now in the comics, there's also a scene, and it's pretty iconic, where Jean Grey uses her powers to pin Mastermind to the wall, and then throws all her powers at him and puts him into a coma. And of course, that's how Elle defeats the monster, pinning it to the wall and deciding to make it so it can't hurt anyone anymore. And she sacrifices herself in doing so. We know she's back for the second season. So can you say Rise of the Phoenix? I mean, it's a pretty safe bet that we're going to get her back in a phoenixy sort of way. So it's almost the same image when she pins the monster against the wall as it is in the comics, where Jean Grey pins Mastermind against the wall, who is, of course, the monster in her story. So it's a real homage to that comic. You can't get any closer to an homage than that. So I just wanted to let you know that's what I was alluding to. And of course, I didn't want to say that, because then you'd know that, number one, there's a real monster, and number two, she was going to, defeat the monster and sacrifice herself. So that's it. And, I really love you guys doing this podcast. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Karen.
I think you and I should spend some time reading the entire Dark Phoenix series before season 2 starts.
Read?
It's a comic book.
All right. Pictures. Yay.
Yeah. If only someone as awesome as Karen would have purchased it and sent it to us. Oh, wait. She did. She sent us the entire Dark Phoenix comic series for us to read.
Really?
She did.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so thank you, Karen. We're not going to be able to take it with us, and because Addie and I, in the morning, literally, we're going to bed tonight, and then at like 3 a.m. we have to get up and we're going to Guatemala. I know it's that time of day shouldn't exist except for sleeping. But anyway, when we get back, maybe on our way to Comic-Con, because we'll actually be able to take electronic devices with us there. We'll take it and we'll get it all taken care of and read before season 2. So thank you, Karen. And I love your parallels, your analogy on the X-Men.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to send in feedback for a future episode, you can do that at 304-837-2278, which goes straight to voicemail. You can just record until your heart's content. It'll hang up on you after either 2 or 3 minutes, but if it cuts you off, just call back and keep going. We'll stitch them together. Or you can head over to goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback, where you can type out a contribution, or you can upload an audio file, or use that SpeakPipe widget from either your computer or your mobile phone. What about social media?
Our Instagram is Stranger Things GSM. Our Twitter is Upside Down GSM. And our Facebook is facebook.com/group/Stranger Things GSM.
With a dab that you guys couldn't see. All right. Now, let's talk about the quote of the week.
The quote of the week is, Mike, I found the chocolate pudding!
Found it! I knew she was hoarding it. I knew it. Always lying, saying she's out. Bald-faced liar. Mike! I found the chocolate pudding!
Okay!
With, like 10 voice cracks.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I love that his voice cracked. And when I heard his voice crack,
I thought that was so cute.
It was great. I wondered if that was original or if that was part of the overdubbing or what that was, but it was perfect. It was great.
Yeah, he's adorable. I love Dustin.
He's really cool. All right, Addie, you know what that means?
It's time for the predictions.
That's right. Okay. I would love for you to go first here. These are predictions or things we want to see in season 2. And I said earlier in the episode that you had an idea for a new segment. We kind of lumped it in here, but that was specifically what we want to see in season 2.
No, it's specifically titled Things Addie Wants to See in season 2. I don't think your name's Addie.
It's not, and that's good that you distinguished it that way because I don't have anything to add to that segment. That's all you. So, do you want to start there, or do you want to start with your predictions?
I'll start with the things I want to see.
Okay.
All right. So in season 2, I'm hoping to see Nancy and Jonathan get together. And I know you said you didn't want them to, but yeah, I do.
Okay. Wow, I just saw this. This should not be a surprise to you. If you've made it this far in the episode, in fact, go ahead and make a prediction of what you think this will be while Addison stops laughing at just how obvious this one is. All right, Addie, what is it?
The second thing I want to happen in season 2 is Steve dies.
Of course you do. All right.
I put that in there as a joke, and then I was just like, not bad.
Well, I don't think it is a joke as many times as you've mentioned it throughout our podcast today.
Just this episode so far. Okay, I want 11 to reunite with her mom or dad. I mean, it doesn't show her dad, but...
Do you think if she does reunite with Terry that it will help Terry come out of her state of, kind of, she's just catatonic right now. So is she catatonic because something has been physically done to her, or is she in such a state of despair because no one believes her and she's lost her daughter and that maybe when she sees Jane or Elle, it would help snap her out of it? What do you think?
I think it'll help her a little, but not completely, because they mentioned that she was given like drugs and stuff, so that could have affected it like a lot. But I think if she reunited with 11 or Jane, it would help her.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, what else?
I hope Hopper and Joyce get together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hopper and Joyce, and then Jonathan and Nancy. I'm sure you want Mike and Elle to get together too, right? Oh, wait, she told him bye, so I guess there's nothing. Okay.
Are you trying to kill me?
What else?
Well, okay, so Hopper and Joyce, they're like a really good team and stuff. And
they are a good team.
They are both very caring and stuff, and they care about children. Well, yeah, they do. So it shows 11 whenever she's in the bathtub, or the kiddie pool. It shows her talking to Will.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it was just like in her mind or if like Will actually remembers it. So I'm hoping she and Will actually get to meet, because Mike talks about her a little bit to Will whenever he's in the hospital room. And I hope 11 reunites with the boys, all of them, with Will there.
Yep.
So that kind of goes into it. And I don't know, I just want to see Mike's reaction. He'll be very happy. And
Yeah.
And okay, I want to see more flashbacks from 11 and Hopper and Nancy. And I want to see flashbacks from Will in the Upside Down.
Okay.
And Will, like how he was before, because you never really get to know him.
Right.
I mean, you know that he's honest and caring, but like that's really it. Yes, I want to see flashbacks from before the whole situation happened and when he was in the Upside Down. And going back to Nancy, I want to see flashbacks of her and Barb.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you about that. Okay.
But I know it's probably not going to happen, because I watched a live stream with Shannon Purser, who plays Barb. It was like at the time they were filming season 2, and she said she hasn't gotten a script yet, so she's probably not going to be in it.
Oh.
I know, that made me sad. I was like, no, Barb.
So yeah, because last week I told you I remembered when she popped out of the pool in the Golden Globes or whatever award show that was. So, I'm disappointed.
I mean, but they could have given one to her, like later.
Yeah.
Or maybe she wasn't allowed to say.
Yeah.
And
Well, definitely
lying.
not allowed to say, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, I'm sure she would have been allowed to say if she's gotten the script.
I don't know, because if the status of her character is up in the air, they would want to keep that a secret, I would think.
Maybe. But I don't think she would just lie to her fans.
I don't either. Yeah. Okay. Well, as far as predictions go, I'll kick this one off. Earlier, I think episode 4, I made a prediction where I said the demogorgon is 11 from the other dimension, where in that dimension 11 didn't stop herself from killing the cat and kind of allowed herself to do dark things and just kind of eventually consumed her and turned her into this beast. Well, I no longer think that. I'm quite sure that's not the case. I mean, it still could be the case, but I don't think it is. In fact, also, I think maybe episode 2, I said that if the demogorgon turned out to be an alien, I would be very disappointed, because it would seem like the easy way to go, and they would have to do some convincing for me to really be comfortable with that. I'm getting there. In fact, I'm kind of am there. I mentioned this episode started with a look at the stars panning down to a lab. That was the first shot of the series. And that could have been a massive clue. Something coming from space down to Earth. When we see, as I mentioned in the classroom, that message on the bulletin board could have been nothing. It could have been just something you would see in a science class in a middle school. Or it could have been a clue that this thing that's standing right in front of that bulletin board is an outer space traveler.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I think that it could be an alien after all, and that's okay. I don't know what else it could be, except I think there are 2 possibilities here. Oh, and I think the egg is a big clue to it as well. And that, again, that may be because it reminded me of an egg from a movie called Alien, right? So, but I think there are 2 explanations for the demogorgon, and that's not true. There's a third that I'm going to get to in just a moment. But the one is it's an alien. 2 is that it is a monster created in a lab by mad scientists who were trying to create a weapon. And I think either of those are still possibilities. The third option goes into my next prediction, and that is, at the end of the day, when Stranger Things comes to a close, what will be the reveal? A lot of shows have a wrap up and they have a big reveal or whatever. Like Lost, with season 6 on it, we finally learned what the Flash sideways were in the very last episode of the season. That doesn't always happen to be the case. And sometimes the story is what it is, and you've seen it play out, and there's nothing left to kind of help you understand what the story is, just how the story will resolve. Fringe was an example of that. But I think that this story could be one of those where it's revealed at the end that the entire thing has taken place in the mind of Mike Wheeler. Mike is the dungeon master, after all. We saw the series begin with Dungeons and Dragons, and the season almost end. I mean, it wasn't the last scene of the season, but it was almost the last scene of the season. And in that, we saw, again, I paralleled it with the show. They wanted more. There were loose ends. And so it wouldn't surprise me if after the end of this, because Mike is the dungeon master of their D&D group. He's the one creating the scenarios and putting the kids into these situations. And it might just be him fantasizing about these dungeons he's creating if his friends were really there and fighting the monsters themselves. And it's just kind of playing out in the, imagination of Mike Wheeler. That could be seen as a little bit of a weak cop-out. Anything that happens in the mind of someone is typically frowned upon. But I think this could be an example of how it can be done and still be pretty cool. So we'll see if that turns out to be true. I just think that's a fairly strong possibility.
I hope it's not like that.
Why?
I don't know. I just hope like the whole thing was in real life and, 11 actually exists and it's not just in someone's mind.
Well, I mean, is this the real life or is this just fantasy? They're like caught in a landslide and there's no escape from reality. Right?
Mm-hmm. And you also, whenever you were talking about how you thought that it was 11, 11 was the Demogorgon, but the Demogorgon was like the bad version of her.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, you back in episode 4, you said there was something in the finale you were going to come back to on that.
Yeah, so it was the scene where 11's destroying the Demogorgon. So I'm like, okay, why would she want to destroy part of herself, which is what goes against it? And then she's also, destroying like the bad side. So that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, why would she want to destroy herself? But it's also the bad part. So of course she wants to destroy it. And she's a good one. Yeah, and I don't mean that it's actually... I mean, it's like in Fringe, there was Olivia and there was Faux Olivia, and they were two separate people. But they were the same person just in their own universes, but they were two separate people. That's kind of what I meant by that theory. I mean, she's not literally destroying herself, although in a way she is. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I mean, I still think there's a chance of it, but I'm leaning towards no. One other prediction I have is... that with Dr. Brenner gone, I had said, I don't know if it was episode 3 or 4, where we were talking about the heart of darkness, and we were talking about how some people who appear to be bad, it's easy for us to judge them as bad, and we have darkness in our own heart, and da-da-da-da. And I said that we might find that the things that we see as evil now, Steve and Brenner and the Demogorgon, might not be so bad after all. And in fact, I said we might find that Brenner is nothing but a puppet himself and somebody else is controlling him. Well, with him out of the picture now, he's dead, then it seems likely that we would get to see who the real person in control is. Again, going back to the suits that picked up Hopper and they drove away together, he had a meeting with someone, and it wasn't the guys in the car. The guys in the car were taking him to meet someone. That's the way I would, assume. So who is that, and what was the purpose of that meeting? And I'm hoping, all that will get revealed. But I think that now that Brenner's gone, that person will be revealed. And last prediction, I think I said that was the last. I actually have one more. Will we see him spitting up the slug? He's going to have some abilities. This is not only going to have affected him traumatically and maybe adversely with the physical. He's coughing and he's got this slug stuff and all that. He has bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody got time for that. But I think he's going to have some sort of superpowers now. Will it be the same as Elle's? I hope not. I'd like to see some diversity there. Will it be as powerful as Elle? I doubt it, because he hasn't been through the process like she has. But if they find out he has powers, and I think we see this in the season 2 trailer, then those scientists are going to come and get him and, poke and prod him, and maybe he will become powerful like Elle. So those are my predictions. What about you?
All right. So my first prediction is that Dr. Brenner is not actually dead.
I saw that. Well, I'm glad we disagree on something.
That's two things. The Rock. Remember The Rock.
I know. You don't smell while The Rock is cooking.
The Rock doesn't cook. It's a rock.
Okay.
Anyway.
Maybe it's like a king of scorpions or something.
Was that supposed to be funny?
Some of our audience has been getting my joke the entire time, and some of the audience had no idea that it was a joke.
Am I part of the audience that doesn't know it was a joke?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I don't think he's actually dead. I think he survived the attack.
Uh-huh.
And I think the lady for sure is dead.
Yeah. We agree
Hillary
on
Clinton.
that.
Yeah, I think Hillary Clinton's actually. I think she's actually
That
dead.
never occurred to me until you said it a few minutes ago.
Lol. Yeah, I think she's actually dead. I mean, because there's blood everywhere. She was bleeding out of her eyes, so that's kind of a red flag that she's dead. Yeah, but I think Dr. Brenner survived the attack. Maybe the guys who are still shooting at the Demogorgon distracted it.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think he's going to be different than he was before. So since we're all caught up here, I did a little research on season 2, and he's going to definitely. They said he was going to be like a villain or something like that.
Brenner?
No, Will.
Oh, Will.
Yeah, I mean that could have been like fake or something, but yeah.
Interesting.
I don't really want him to be a villain, but I mean I definitely think he's going to be different.
Yeah.
Because, he's so nice before, and he goes into the Upside Down, which would make perfect sense for him to become a villain because, he's nice and caring.
Right.
And then he comes back up and he's the opposite. But I don't think 11's dead either, obviously. But, spoiler alert, she's not dead. Because, the season 2 teaser trailer, Lego my ego, you Lego my ego, 11! And then you see her with the bloody nose, and then you see different flashes, and at the end of the trailer, the Stranger Things music plays.
Right.
And then the Netflix sign turns upside down. So anyway, I watched it way too much. Or no, it says Halloween, and then the Netflix sign turns upside down. Yeah, so I think the Thessal Hydra is a thing that we saw in the sky in the season 2 trailer.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be like the new Demogorgon. It's going to be like the
monster of the season.
Monster, yeah.
Yep, maybe. I agree.
And I think it's going to be like, like level 2, way harder than it was before.
I like the way you put that.
Yeah, let's do this. And I think we're going to. So they mentioned the Lost Knight, the Proud Princess, and the weird flowers in the cave. So I think those are all going to be pieces in season 2. And okay, so this is a question I have. It's probably really irrelevant, which I know it's really irrelevant.
Okay.
So I wonder if they kept Will's grave up, or
oh, that's a good question.
or if they like took it and used it for someone else. But I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, if they did keep it, it'd be kind of weird just keeping like a piece of plastic in there or whatever it was made of, because it was a lot of money to put in there. But I don't know. I mean, it'd be cool if, like 100 years later or whenever Will actually dies, sad, they put his grave like right next to the fake Will.
Wow, you've thought about this way too much.
Yeah. And they could put Steve's on the other side, except, instead of 100 years from now, it could be, now.
Wow. Such hate for Steve.
I hate Steve.
I've picked up on that. Okay. Very good. Okay, anything else?
So in episode 5, The Flea and the Acrobat, whenever Mr. Clark is explaining the upside down and how to get there, he draws 2 lines with the tightrope, and he puts arrows in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. So I think the elevator area, I kind of thought about this before, but then it also kind of doesn't make sense. So I'm just gonna say it, and then it doesn't make sense at all. But like the elevator area and like that hallway is like the in between, and then like through the crack is the upside down, because it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, it kind of does, but kind of doesn't, unless that wall that 11 cracked was like a wall that leads to outside, because it goes outside. Mm-hmm. So yeah, unless that wall was a wall that led outside, then it makes sense because, I mean, I would imagine there was another room behind it.
You would think so.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's a big lab.
Yeah. Yeah, we never got to see that because even when Joyce and Hopper went through there, the first time we see them is when they're already in the woods.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been right on the other side. But no, you would have... No, never mind. Because you would have seen, like, the fence and stuff around it.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wonder if that elevator area is the in-between, and then through the crack of the wall, in the wall is the upside down, which is where Will was. So he was actually in the upside down, and then the other scientists were in the in-between. I'm just going to keep calling it that.
Okay. That's a good, interesting theory. That's an interesting theory. All right. Well, I loved being able to just talk openly about all this stuff with you, and I loved hearing your predictions and the stuff you want to see. Excellent job. And I have to say, here we are at the end, episode 8 of the season, and you have progressively gotten better every single episode, and this first season with you has been just a real treat for me. So I hope you've enjoyed it half as much as I have, because I have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thanks. I still want to do it the same format, though.
We'll talk about that. We'd love to hear from you. I would love to do this style format the whole season where she and I are on equal footing and we can have, full discussions. She wants to binge the whole, she doesn't care except that she wants to binge the whole thing.
I've been waiting a year.
She doesn't have to wait to watch the whole season. So let us know what you think. What would you like to hear? Would you rather hear the whole season like we did this season where she's seen it and I haven't? Or would you like us both to take it an episode at a time? Once again, you can follow us on Twitter at Upside Down GSM, Instagram, which is Stranger Things GSM, or of course our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Stranger Things GSM. And of course, you can send in your feedback for future episodes over at goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback. All right. One last segment today, Addie, on a very long episode. What is the meme of the week?
All right. So the meme of the week is a picture of the Arthur meme. It's a picture of, I think it's Arthur.
Yeah, it is.
It's his fist, like next to his pocket and stuff. And, you'll definitely recognize it. And it's upside down. And the caption is, when the demogorgon takes you to the upside down.
I like this because this is a pretty popular meme of Arthur's fist. So nicely done. Once again, you've chosen a good one. All right. And with that, we have come to the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us on this journey through season 1. We've thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully you have as well. And hopefully you'll stick with us. We'll be doing some other stuff before season 2 starts. At the very least, we'll be doing a season 1 recap and preview into season 2. Even though we kind of talked about some of the preview stuff today, we'll have more to talk about then because I will have watched the season a couple more times by then, and hopefully both of us will have more to say at that point. But as always, and until that time,
stay strange.